Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer online action. This time I'm going to be playing as the vampires, and we are facing off against a Greenskin's opponent. So previously I said that bringing, ethereal units against pretty much any faction is definitely a risky pick. Greenskins are potentially one exception to that just because they don't have a whole lot of magic damage. Now, one potential option they do have has been brought by my opponent, which is Azag the Slaughterer. He's carrying Fate of Buna and Spirit Leech, which are both good against ethereal units. But we'll see how it goes for me. I've only got the one Banshee, so if he uses that Spirit Leech appropriately, he should be able to take out the Banshee with relative ease. For my army composition, it's a front line of Skeleton Warriors and Skeleton Spearmen on the flanks, with one Zombie to break the charge. We've got two Cryptors in the back for a bit of killing power, as well as the Claw of Nagash for the Drain, the Terror, the Regeneration, Slowing Effect. Lots of good stuff going on here, so definitely in for a good time. And Mannfred, yep, he's got Spirit Leech, Fate of Buna. He's also got Aspect of Dread Knight for some quick terror, Invocation of Nehek, and Raise Dead. So very good stuff. And this time I actually did manage to remember to bring the Sword of Unholy Power. So he's going to be getting some extra, Winds of Magic from that, along with the Lore attribute for the Lore of Death and the Master of the Black Arts. You can get a lot of magic. And in addition to that, the Mortis engine, I believe, has an ability, if I can find it, yep, improved power recharge rate, so to the augment of the Winds of Magic, so it helps your caster recharge. So with all that stacked together, you're going to be able to get a ridiculous amount of magic out of Mannfred, so definitely in for a good time. On this flank, we've got a nice mobile force here of Varix Reavers combined with the Dire Pack. Two very good units. The Varix Reavers with their regeneration and 58 charge bonus are very good, and the Dire Pack as well, decent mobility, anti-large bonus. The thought was if my opponent has brought, a Gobbo firing line, then I can get into the rear with the Dire Pack and help disrupt that. On the opposite flank, we've got a unit of Blood Knights for some elite killing power. That's pretty much it for my army. My opponent, as previously stated, has got Azag, accompanied by a Giant. Front line is Black Orcs, mixed with Savage Orc Biggins. In fact, that's his entire army, except for this unit of Night Goblins here. He's also got a Night Goblin Shaman with just the Sneaky Stealin' to help strip away some Winds of Magic. He's also got these two Gobbo Big Bosses out on this flank, both riding wolves, interestingly enough, so potentially looking to assassinate some weaker units, but we'll see. Let's go ahead and kick things into full gear here. So, it's interesting to say because the vampires don't necessarily have any ranged units, but in a sense I have a ranged advantage here just because Mannfred's got mobility. He's also got the ability to cast some nice spells. So we'll see how it goes. These Blood Knights are just being set here to help screen these Goblin Big Bosses. They're probably not going to want to charge in here, but we'll see. Just kind of flying, doing some recon, making sure, checking things out that there isn't any hidden Gobbo units around. We are going to be able to spot these Night Goblins. Excuse me, I thought these were the Warlord's Boys. They're actually the Unbreakable. I believe they're called the 8-Peak Loonies. They do have the special, Loons of the 8 Peaks. They have the special ranged attack, so zombies blocking the charge like they should. They're going to get crushed by these Black Orcs and Savages, but allow these Skeletons get a nicer engagement. Meanwhile, these Skeletons over here getting shocked almost half their health immediately by the Savage Orc Biggins. That's very poor for me. We're getting the Banshee, however, in on these Black Orcs on this flank, sandwiching them with the Cryptors as well. They're going to take quite a bit of damage from that armor piercing there. Over here, these unit of Skeleton Spearmen is getting crumbled very fast. We're going to bring in the Blood Knights to try and help support, get a nice charge on this flank, take out quite a few of those Savage Orcs, deal a bit of damage to the Black Orcs as well. But I definitely don't want to be leaving these guys in the fight for too long. I did cast Aspect of Dread Knight in there, trying to terrify away these Savage Orcs, but it didn't work. Fortunately, now we're going to be getting a Fate of Buna out of Azag, which is going to do quite a bit of damage to the Blood Knights there. But unfortunately, Azag is on the opposite side of the battle as the Banshee where he needs to be. So unfortunately, not able to cast any Spirit Leech there. The rear charge now from the Hounds probably going to take out these Black Orcs. They are immune to psychology, but their morale only holds up to so much. And they're going to rout. Here in the center, this Claw of Nagash just continuing to drain away at the Black Orcs and the Savage Orc Biggins here. In the rear, the Varix Reavers got a very nice charge into those Savage Orc Biggins, but took a bit of damage in return from the anti-large bonus there. Going to be pushing on through, getting into the rear of these Savage Orcs here, so we'll take in a bit of this action, and it's definitely going to help break the morale of these Savage Orcs. Hopefully, yep, the Savage Orcs are now terrified. The Black Orcs, being immune to psychology, are going to stand and fight here, but their morale is definitely suffering, and they're taking quite a bit of damage as well. So now these Varix Reavers are going to stay in here for a bit of damage, but you can see I've lost this flank very, very decisively, so we're going to be kind of reforming the ranks here to just try and keep the blob drain going. For my opponent, these Black Orcs have regrouped, and these Savage Orcs are likely to regroup soon, so we're getting a nice overcast invocation of Nehek, healing up this nice pocket here. We're going to pull away the mobile force. The Blood Knights have just been trying to cycle in and out on this flank, however, I'm not microing them super well, and they're going to get caught by these Savage Orc Biggins here and pretty much finished off, which is a bit unfortunate, but, you know, their expensive unit probably didn't pay off, but we'll see how we're able to do. The Giant here now, this is an interesting play for one of the Banshees, and one thing I've seen them used very well to do, which is to take out large monsters like this, because the Giant can't directly attack, or he's going to have a hard time directly attacking the Banshee as she's kind of mixed into this big force. But because she's got pretty decent weapon strength and combat stats, she's able to dish a bit of damage onto him. So it's very, very nice. You can see another Fate of Buna going off on those Varix Reavers. Not super efficient because they do have the regeneration, but definitely want to be dropping that Spirit Leech on this Banshee instead. But right now, Azag probably has used most of his Winds of Magic on those two Fate of Bunas. You can see a nice charge on these Savage Orcs that had regrouped. We're going to completely flatten them with the Hounds and the Varix Reavers together and just push right on through. So here in this center fight, the Giant is trying to get a hold of the Claw of Nagash, and if he does, he'll be able to do quite a bit of damage to him. But you can see, because there's all these other units standing around poking him, it's distracting him, and he's doing these splash attacks off in weird directions, not really able to do a lot of damage to the Claw of Nagash itself, which is why, you know, if you're going to try and take out a Mortis engine, you need to try and get it isolated from other troops. That way whatever is targeting it can just, you know, womp on it, really take it down. But as it is, these troops are just continuously getting drained in this area of effect. Let's go ahead and have a look at that here if we can. So let's see, that's the chilling effect there, damage to combatants. So within that area of effect, all those units are going to be taking damage. We're just parked this mobile force out here. My opponent's not using these Goblin Big Bosses for anything. I'm not sure that they would be super useful for anything. I don't really have any good targets, but if they were over here, they could maybe respond to Mannfred and get in some good attacks. As it is, he's just recharging the Sword of Unholy Power, chopping up some of these Savage Orcs over here on this flank. I'm going to be regenerating some nice Winds of Magic there. And in the center, it's what had originally looked very promising for the Greenskins is starting to turn somewhat against them. This continuous cycle charging by the Varix Reavers and the Hounds is eventually starting to do quite a bit of damage to the Black Orcs over time. And most of the Savage Orcs at this point have been routed off. It's just mainly this core of Black Orcs here and the Unbreakable Night Goblins. But just continuously getting drained in this big blob here. The Banshee is attacking Azag, so she'll be able to fairly effectively assassinate him with her armor-piercing weapon strength. She's not an excellent combatant, but with 80% physical resistance, she won't take a whole lot of damage one-on-one from Azag. You can see the Claw of Nagash just kind of riding through here, probably running over a few Black Orcs, but it doesn't actually do that much damage in melee. But it actually has armor-piercing anti-infantry, so that's interesting. It might actually be able to do a bit of damage there, but you can see a nice chunk there from the Giant. But just the continuous charging of these Varix Reavers, man, these guys are absolute MVPs. The more I play with them, you know, the more I really, really like these guys. They're a very good shock cavalry in a game that kind of favors shock cavalry in many instances. So, definitely good units. The Giant just continuously getting shanked by this Banshee, just stabbed in the ankles and the calves, probably very uncomfortable by now. And he's pretty low on HP as well. The Banshee's been able to whittle him down over time. You can see the Varix Reavers are actually at their healing cap, so that's a bit unfortunate. They're not going to be able to regenerate anymore, but they've done a ton of damage. 105 kills against fairly elite Greenskin infantry, so that's good. We're going to finally bring Mannfred down in here to try and assassinate Azag, which is a bit risky just because the Giant's here as well, but I'm betting on the Giant getting distracted by all these zombies and other units kind of mixed in here, so it's definitely in for a good time. You can see all kinds of horrifying sounds from the vampire units. It's a lot of fun. This game is absolutely gorgeous. The Giant finally going down there to the Banshee, and now that's going to flip the balance of power even more in my favor. Azag is continuing to hold out, but gonna be done fairly soon. These two Goblin Big Bosses finally activated, trying to take down the Claw of Nagash, which is actually almost at its healing cap, getting fairly low on HP. If my opponent had been able to drag out this fight a little bit longer, he maybe could have taken it out, but as it is, the rest of his forces tear rout, and that'll be game. So good game to my opponent, well played. I definitely enjoyed that. A decent build against the vampires, all things considered. But maybe a little heavy on the black orcs. Could use a little bit of mobility, and if you cut one unit of black orcs, you could maybe bring like the mangy marauders and another unit of the wolf rider archers. Potentially very useful. But decent build overall. Those Savage Orc Biggins getting a lot of kills in some instances, and a Chevron too. Giant getting 2 Chevron, 92 kills. Very, very good stuff. Black Orcs getting a ton of kills. But for my forces, the Varix Reavers, man, 108 kills, absolute MVPs, 74 kills on the Dire Pack as well is very, very good, considering they're, again, against fairly elite Greenskin infantry. Only 31 kills on the Blood Knights. They didn't really end up paying off, and the main line just mostly got slaughtered, but that's okay. It's mostly what they're there for. The Claw of Nagash getting 47 kills, and of course that Drain in the late game there, or the regeneration, absolutely clutch. Mannfred doing a ton of magic casting like he should, and the Banshee as well, assassinating that giant, doing some decent armor-piercing damage to those Black Orcs as well. Just a great pick against the Greenskins, in my opinion. Probably one of the only matchups that I would actually bring a lot of ethereal units, but yeah, very well played to my opponent. Sorry about all the vampire replays recently. I've just been running into them a lot and playing as them a lot, so you guys will probably see a couple more over the next few days. But yeah, Warhammer 2 is just around the corner, so a couple weeks, and we'll be seeing lots of new stuff. The game balance is probably going to be all over the place. But yeah, I'm excited. I hope you guys are excited. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe. I'm keeping it coming every day, so stay tuned for more, and we'll see you next time.